Welcome to Campus Consortium EdTalk on Artificial Intelligence and Higher Ed. Welcome to the new normal. If you have any questions now or during today's presentation, please type them into the chat box or questions pane in the GoToWebinar control panel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Campus Consortium EdTalk. Today's topic for the webinar is Artificial Intelligence and Higher Ed. Welcome to the new normal. Our presenter for today's session is Francesco Rulli, Forbes AI Solutions, partner, Querlo, Global CEO. And our facilitator today is John Wanamaker, Executive Director of Campus Consortium. We will take questions at the end of today's presentation. Please enter the question into the chat box or questions pane in your GoToWebinar control panel. Without further ado, please allow me to present Mr. Wanamaker and Mr. Rulli. Over to you, John.
Excellent. Thanks, Rosie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our EdTalk webinar today. I am John Wanamaker. I'm the Executive Director for the Campus Consortium, and I appreciate all of you joining us today for the EdTalk on Artificial Intelligence. In this webinar, our presenter, Francesco Rulli, will talk about how adoption of artificial intelligence solutions can help higher ed institutions as they aim to drive engagement and save time while improving the users' experiences, managing conversations in one platform, and generating some insights into your CRM. I want to move forward with this session, which I am sure will be engaging and informative for you all. But I do want to quickly give you a quick overview on the Campus Consortium. So I'd like to start by sharing with you that the Campus Consortium was founded about 16 years ago. It is a leading nonprofit organization, education association with thousands of members across the globe. The consortium's mission is to help members reduce the time, cost, and effort associated with implementing enterprise IT services by leveraging shared IT services, lessons learned, and best practices so that each member can avoid reinventing the wheel when adopting new education technologies for their institution. The Campus Consortium is sponsored by a series of technology partners, and we'd like to thank those technology partners today who we work with to help support this broadcast, as well as a series of other outreach that we do, including monthly publications and campus and conference presentations and panels that our members participate on. We also are supported by a number of these sponsors who are listed here, including Salesforce, Cisco, Oracle, Black Belt Health, Salesforce, and Unified. The consortium runs a series of grants, of technology grants throughout the year. We do have here on this next slide a list of our current technology grants still open for 2019. Each of these is designed to provide a variety of solutions, products, and services to institutions which help them manage costs for implementation of new tech. We encourage you to check out campusconsortium.org, where you can learn more about the grants listed here. With that said, I would like to introduce you to today's speaker, Francesco Rulli. In 2015, Francesco launched Querlo, providing a robust environment for conversational AI and data performing analytics. Applying proprietary software, Francesco and his team developed tools to improve interactions between customers, employees, and brands. Today, the chatbots employ algorithms that mimic the neural connections of the human brain, a revolutionary development that promises to unify the arts and sciences with technology. Long the dream of an Italian-born and raised in Florence, an Italian-American born and raised in Florence. With that said, we're so thrilled to have Francesco with us today, and thank you for joining his presentation. He will kick off momentarily. I do want to just reiterate that we will be taking some questions at the end of the session. So any questions you have throughout Francesco's presentation, please include those in the chat box here to the bottom right of the panel for GoToMeeting. I also wanted to mention that Francesco will be doing a couple of polling questions throughout the presentation today. And in those, you will have an opportunity to vote and indicate where you are on your AI journey. And that will give some insight to some of our other participants on the line today, as well as to Francesco to give some context of some of the conversation he'll be leading today. So please feel free to respond to those polling questions by clicking on the radio buttons that you see following each of the questions that will be asked throughout the presentation. We'll just do a couple, but it's a good way to get some real-time feedback from you all. Once again, thanks very much for joining. Thank you, Francesco, for being a part of our EdTalk series, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, John. So I would like to start giving a little background of where I am, where I come from in terms of getting into the business of artificial intelligence. If some of you have taken the time to look up my name, you might have seen that back in early 2000s, I had a fashion line with an American actor called John Malkovich. And John and I, we worked together for 4 years. At that time, I was in the business of fashion. And in 2004, we decided to close the line in a very amicable way, but it was a little difficult to sell menswear clothing. It was a little bit too artistic, let's put it this way. And we spoke about the film industry, and he brought up to my attention how film distributors actually do very, very well compared to film producers, in which, you know, they take all the risk. And that was 2005 that I launched a platform called Film Annex, in which was fairly similar to what it was at that time. Launching in February 2005 was YouTube. YouTube was purchased by Google shortly after. Instead, I kept my company private, and we grew very well to being one of the top 20 platforms in the United States with 40 million uniques. We mastered the of generating revenues with advertising. In 2011, a young woman, 2010 or 11, a young woman in Pakistan was shot, and her name is Malala. And it made me think about the role of my industry, the publishing and advertising industry. And I had this idea to reach out to make a difference. Coincidentally, at the same time, NATO, the National Atlantic Treaty Organization, reached out to me offering to distribute 2,000 film content pieces of their documentaries of their peacekeeping efforts in Afghanistan, in Kosovo, and in Libya. And that's when I saw a video of a young woman building a classroom in Afghanistan. And she was actually building a classroom in the University of Kabul. So I decided to reach out to her. And in 2011, I decided to embark on a major social responsibility project that was to finance the construction of multiple IT classrooms in Afghanistan. Specifically, I focused in the area of Herat. We built 13 classrooms and IT centers. We provided internet connection and digital education to over 30,000 young girls. And we provided them a sustainability program that allowed them to not only learn and master how to use digital platforms, as in theory Malala had done, but also to generate revenues, so that we didn't have one Malala, but we had thousands and thousands of young girls that could actually be financially self-efficient. In 2013, we introduced the payment system of Bitcoin. So we started paying those young women with the cryptocurrency. Indeed, if you read a book called The Age of Cryptocurrency, written by 2 Wall Street journalists, you'll see that our venture has been named several times in the book, and is actually the very opening of the book itself, because probably the first time in which Bitcoin was used for something that was more related to education. In 2014, the government in Afghanistan decided to take those classrooms away from us, and we were left with nothing in our hands. Coincidentally, it was 2014, I think, that IBM purchased SoftLayer, our hosting company. My CTO called me one day and said to me, you know, we have access to IBM Watson. So we discussed, and we decided to build chatbots to communicate with the students in that region. So in 2014, we launched the use of chatbots purely for educational purpose. And then in 2015, we decided to launch Querlo as also a for-profit organization. It has been a very interesting journey. Since then, we have engaged with several important clients like HSBC, Pfizer, IBM itself using our technology. We have implemented APIs from different sources like IBM, Microsoft, Google, API.ai, to name a few. And currently, we have built over 9,000 solutions, of which just last month, in the last 30 days, we had over 450 chatbots that were built on our platform. So this is a little bit in a nutshell what has happened from 2004 to 2019 that we are today, and how we have been entering the world of artificial intelligence for the last 5 years. So let me talk a little bit about today's industry. There is obviously, I sometimes like to refer to myself as someone who has been talking about this for a long time. It's since 2014 that we have been working with chatbots. Some of you probably know about John the Baptist, that was the prophet who ended up being decapitated later on. So sometimes in this industry, it's very important when you're very early in the game to be realistic about your expectations. One of the toughest parts of developing artificial intelligence solutions is to identify stakeholders that are willing and capable to embrace the industry, and to basically reskill their teams and create a culture within the company in which artificial intelligence is augmented with the employees and is also augmented with the best practice of the companies and the organizations. At times, the arrival of artificial intelligence is a big shock for a lot of people, because it obviously uncovered all the aspects of how the company sometimes can improve their functionalities, can cross collaborations within the company, and so on. So one of the toughest parts of implementing artificial intelligence, from my own experience, is actually to identify stakeholders that are really willing to learn, embrace, and grow with it. We have here a few decks that I requested to be presented. And also, I would like to share with you a few words about my relationship with Forbes. We are the official artificial intelligence solution partner for Forbes Insights. We collaborate closely with Forbes in the development of conversational artificial intelligence solutions for various industries, from the HR to the marketing side of the business. And here I have an example of what we have developed as a solution, as an employee experience platform together with Forbes. So maybe, Rosie, if you want to start the presentation of the slides. Switch to slide number 2. So I like to talk about employee experience, because unless a company embrace innovation from within, it's fairly difficult for a company then to actually provide a good service to its own customers, or in this case, students and faculty, and anything that, or even let's say, suppliers and services surrounding the world of higher education. So when we look at the employees, we see certain trends that you can read here. For example, there is an incredible amount of time spent answering emails. Here is estimated 25%. It's emails is probably one of the most time-consuming parts of everybody's life in today's world, to a point in which most of my communication with key stakeholders, specifically in the Middle East and Asia, is happening on WhatsApp and WeChat, meaning that I am actually forced not to use emails because it takes so much time. But the solution is not to dump a platform, is actually to find a better way to communicate. It's very difficult in today's world to identify a good balance between your personal life and work. I think most people at this point are able to work from home. That means they're working all the time. Many global organizations are forced to communicate throughout the 24 hours. And it was just the other day I was talking to a friend slash client about the fact that her marketing role is global, and she's getting no sleep. And that's when also this is another impact on everybody's life, is there is now a very good definition about free and business life. And then the craziness of communicating through our portable cell phones. I am the first to say the first thing I do in the morning is check my cell phone, and that happens probably 150 days throughout the day. Distracting employees, doesn't matter if it's a CEO or is someone very junior in the company, distracting them from their job, distracting them from personal relationships and opportunities of growth within the company. And then the amount of hours that are spent by the average workers in the United States is estimated at 47 hours per week. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is a little bit of a few aspects of why HR professionals are investing heavily in employee experience, and where is the problem with ROI. So the spending has skyrocketed in terms of payroll spending. Implementations of very expensive and sophisticated solutions hasn't really resolved the problem. People have been investing more and more in HR technologies. There are very sophisticated technologies. Some of those are actually listening technologies to identify collaborations within the companies without necessarily informing the employees, in which this can be a problem in the long run. And then also we are missing a better customer experience. Basically, employees are spending an incredible amount of their time learning new technologies, new platforms, trying to figure out how to use this new technology that has been basically implemented to make their life better. So at the end of the day, there is a big investment, and the return on the investment is limited because of the difficulty of interacting with those platforms. Now, Raj, if you can go to the next slide. So this is a polling question in which I would appreciate if the attendees take the time to answer. Where are you, and what is your journey in terms of embracing artificial intelligence? If you can actually answer. So as I can see now, the results are very clear. The majority of the participants to this poll are in the exploratory phase, and only a small percentage, 17%, is in the deep dive phase, and implementing is 8%. So this reflects a little bit the challenges that I have been facing in my industry, in this industry, is basically to identify stakeholders that are knowledgeable and they have the capabilities to actually get into this digital transformation from a cognitive perspective, which is definitely more say, more challenging than just a traditional digital transformation. So here is a big question: why can't our enterprise experience be as easy as our customer experience? So when we go online and we Google something, we get a lot of interesting informations. We are not required to learn very sophisticated navigations. It's very intuitive, it's fairly simple, and that allows us to access content. We could argue that also in the case of Google, the company does a very good job on providing a good priority of informations, but the user experience is fairly simple. While in the enterprise world, as you can see on the right side of the slide, we do have many different interfaces in which it creates a lot of problems and delays from the employee's perspective. Just from a perspective of accessing HRMS time role, in which is a very simple type of processing, HR services, transactions, sourcing, hiring, assessment, and so on, you can name it. There's just 9 examples. Each one of those are usually sophisticated platforms that have to be navigated. Employees have to be educated to access it. Most employees eventually forget. They end up emailing the HR department. So just this is a huge amount of communications, as we were referring to the 25% of the time spent on emailing. So let's go to the next slide. So this is how our digital assistant works. I am using this as an example as that can be applied to many different departments. This is an example for the employee experience, but can also apply for customers, or let's say students, or any other form or interaction between humans and the information that they're trying to receive. And as you can see, a chatbot that will be able to listen, respond, and learn, and then provide all the knowledge that is available on those different platforms which we were discussing. But the entry point is always the same, chatbot. This will allow us to have a conversation with the employees or the humans. There is not a needed human intervention unless there is a requested escalation. Allows us to leverage the information available on our systems and also to pressure test them, because eventually those questions that are asked they don't have an answer for, they will be flagged, and they will allow us to improve the knowledge base, in which is very, very relevant. Some of the organizations we work with, they start from the perspective that investing in those type of solutions is only to cut costs and to improve performance. In reality, there is another aspect, is that also about learning what you don't do very well and what your knowledge base is not ready to answer, and improve that based on the priorities of the questions that have been asked. This is also an easier way, and to a certain extent, a more secure way for employee to interact with the system, because they don't have to do a login for each different separate system. They possibly can do everything through that one chatbot that will answer the questions in that entire environment, and will access the policies in natural language, allowing employees to ask questions in their own ways, and as to do machine learning on the ways that have been used to ask this question. So also improving our understanding of the questions, but also the way that the questions have been placed, and obviously increasing tremendously the amount of data and insights that we can gather from the people on the other side of the conversation, in this case, the employees. And obviously taking away that 25% of repetitive emails, taking away the repetitive tasks will give our employees or the people that are interacting with those platforms more time to do valuable tasks that in this case is actually improve the knowledge base or improve the policies associated to this knowledge base. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is a question that probably we can all agree with, is why do we have to invest in those type of solutions? Obviously, this deck is a little bit more oriented on this specific use case, but the concept, the idea is actually to improve efficiency and automation of the transactional work. So basically, taking away the transactional work as a day-to-day work for employees, but also answering questions that are very important for people on the other side, in which it doesn't necessarily have to be an employee, it can be a customer or a student. Provide reskilling and upskilling to the employees in that specific department. As I started mentioning in the beginning of this webinar, it's very important that the organization itself from within has employees and team members that are really eager to learn more about artificial intelligence, that they're not doing this simply because they want to talk about it, but they really understand the advantages of it. Just to give you an idea, I do have my personal chatbot, is francescorulli.com, in which it handles about 350 conversations a month for me, providing me a saving on my personal time of 35 to 46 hours a month. And this is a little example on a personal level of the impact that this technology has on my personal life. And then also provide a consumer grade experience to our employees, so that it doesn't mean that because you are an employee, you have to have a very hard time working within your company's infrastructure or platforms, but actually your experience should be seamless and enjoyable as it is browsing on Google or using your smartphone for getting information on your entertainment. So the concept here is to make also the workplace a better place, utilizing those technologies. You can go to the next slide. Now here are a few questions for you. Where do you envision utilizing AI on your campus most? So where do you envision utilizing AI on your campus? 57% IT help desk, 14% enrollment and admission, 29% student services, and 0% financial aid, HR, and finance. Okay, so definitely IT help desk is a very important aspect. We are indeed just now implementing a few of those solutions with some of our clients, and you know, like as you can see here, it is a snapshot of the priorities. Definitely, in my advice, giving more attention to the role of HR and implementing the solutions to it's important, because not only is about providing services to the employees themselves, but also educate them about the power of the technology itself, so that also those technologies then can be utilized on other departments. So that's my personal experience. So this was my presentation in the space. So I can share with you a little bit of insights of how Querlo works in terms of building solutions. Here is how our technology works. On the left side, you will see a screenshot of our chatbot builder. Every bubble that you see there is a different API that has been implemented. The red is usually a question, the green is the answers, Sometimes answers can be multiple choice, multiple selection, or open answers. We have a capability for natural language understanding in many different languages. We even implemented solutions in Arabic, where I think we're the first one to do it. We do implement APIs from different service providers. We are technology agnostic from that perspective, so we are very happy to work with a unlimited range of partners, as long as they provide us the best solution on the market. And we configure the chatbot that you see on the left, and on the right side, you see the example of the output. We also have, obviously, our machine learning solution, which allows us to improve the conversation in real time. Just to give you an example, yesterday I was having a conversation with someone. Actually, my chatbot was having a conversation with some people, and one question was, what do you think about Saudi Arabia? And the chatbot mentioned that I usually don't like to discuss political matters, and this could be a conversation taken on a different context. The next question was, what do you think about India? And the answer was not referred to politics. Was actually I didn't have an exact answer, so that was flagged as something that I have to include. The next question was my opinion about Kashmir, and I went back on saying that this is a political, it could be associated to political questions. The interesting aspect of it is that IBM Watson apparently has defined a correlation between the natural language understanding and the current events in the world, and that's what is part of our job, is to tune those setups so that the natural language conversations are as close as possible to natural conversation, but also improve and learn more about people's interests and needs, and also allows me to expand my knowledge base. Indeed, what I will have to do, I will have to decide if those 3 questions about countries were answered properly, and if I feel that, for example, I should definitely add my opinion about the country of India, in which my chatbot was actually not able to answer, and decide if the answers given for Saudi and Kashmir, they were appropriate. So this kind of put a little pressure on me to improve my knowledge base and get to know myself a little bit better. So that's a little the purpose of implementing those solutions. We can go to the next slide. And then here I have a series of case studies in which we can run through fairly fast, because there are a lot of case studies. So you can go to the next slide. So we divided this group in sales and marketing, corporate, reputation and education. Maybe we can scroll through those, and I will do a few notes about it. I want to say one thing. Every chatbot can be interlocked with another chatbot. So it's very important to look at those as just parts of a living entity. So a lead generation or a event management chatbot can actually be very correlated to a reputation management or an education chatbot for different purposes, but they can actually be correlated in terms of cross use of each other. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is an example of something we have done with IBM Watson itself. The IBM company is a chatbot for lead generation in which interacts with potential clients of the organization. And our solution was to create and engage and also educational chatbot that can present the benefits of the technology educate basically the potential buyer, and then feed the information directly into the CRM. So this is an example. So you can, the results was definitely a higher increase in lead conversion and also very high interactivity. So you can go to the next slides. We can scroll down because we have a lot of event. Okay, this is it. Scroll more, go to the next slides. Okay, so this is a Forbes Insights. We actually, what we do, we take reports on various matters that have been investigated or documented by Forbes, and we transform them into a chatbot, an interactive chatbot, in which actually can actually be located almost as a banner or an interstitial unit inside an article or a report itself. And suddenly the original report information not only can be accessed, but they also become themselves a source of information. We collect the readers' insights, and we basically transform a static one-way delivery into a two-way conversation that generates information and data, very different from reading an article or a white paper. So we can scroll down. We can go to the next slides. This is a geolocation implementation which is promoting an API for IBM itself and identifying different use cases. It depends on the location of the potential buyer. But let's go farther down because we have a lot of use cases. I don't want to bore everybody. Okay, this is good. Go back up. All right, Royal Caribbean, the one up, one up. Okay, this is an interesting, not down. So this is an interesting, let's see, the next slide. Okay, so this is interesting use. Okay, so we use the chatbot to navigate to the website. There are two ways to navigate to this website to book a cruise. One is to the navigation on the top. It's a traditional navigation where it's up to you to be crafty and intuitive to find what you need. The other way is actually communicate with the chatbot and basically provide the chatbot the information of the level of investment, the time period, the type of vacation you're looking for, and based on the conversation, the chatbot will actually change the way the website look and provide the different solutions to its left, to the left of the chatbot. So it's a different way. It's an interactive communication between the chatbot and the website itself, making it a little bit more of a human navigation. We can go to the next slide. This is the last one in this section I want to show, is about taking a chatbot as basically a banner unit in which can be published on any publication. So you can actually engage candidates for your universities or educational organizations on different publications, providing them an opportunity to actually learn, but also subscribe to your services right on the publication itself. If I am on the Wall Street Journal and I'm reading an article, I might not be so happy to leave the Wall Street Journal to go into an HSBC website, also because I'm kind of conscious that that website is not going to be as entertaining as the Wall Street Journal is. So I will probably desist from clicking on a banner, and I will keep reading the article. And hopefully at the end of the article, I might consider doing what I was supposed to do, is to go to this website. Instead, in this case, we don't even require this to happen. We engage the conversation right on the publication. So that banner now becomes an interactive unit that does not drive people outside of the publication. So there are two theories behind it. One is that it's best to increase the click-through rate, but considering how much fraud there has been in the online, and the fact that people don't like to leave where they are, sometimes this type of unit performs very well in terms of conversions right on the publisher's site itself. Okay, we can go to the next slides. Can go down. Keep going. We can keep going. Go. Let's go to the next section. Let's pass the lead generation. So we don't need to go through all those guys. Event management. This is interesting. Events happen in today's world. I think, especially when you are an educational institution, you probably would love to have a lot of students participate. Say attending education on campus instead of doing everything online. So events are a very important part of everybody's life, and that's when we augment events with chatbots. This is an example of a bank. It's a global bank interacting with the attendees in a panel discussion in New York. But let's go to the next one. This is a conference, so we can go to the next one. So this was actually a thought leadership event with a small group of attendees, about 13 attendees, I think, and maybe 9-10 speakers. Each attendee, I'm actually also the part of the marketing society, so I was actively participating to this process. Each speaker and each attendee was invited to give a 1-minute conversation about the event, and we were able basically to engage with hundreds of professionals. The slide was 200, but now we're almost 500 marketing professionals that engaged after the event, and they were able to select the specific delegate or speaker organizer and listen to their 1-minute conversation, and also share some insights about their perspectives about what are the necessary matters to be discussed in this type of events. So even those that didn't participate to the leadership, the thought leadership event in person, were able actually to get a lot of information and provide their own feedback back through this platform. Okay, we can go next. Let's go, keep going. Let's keep going, keep going. All right, so this is a market research. This company, Pepsi, was trying to find more information about how they were doing in Pakistan, and there was a high cost of research. So what we did, we helped them with a chatbot in which presented an advertisement that they had invested in. And what we did, we basically surveyed thousands of people in the region to understand better their perspective about this campaign, and if actually influenced their decision about buying a Pepsi or other products from Pepsi. So this is an example. Everything was done from New York. There was no need to get anybody on the ground, and was distributed on social media. Let's go, next one. This is another market research for a small company called Unilever in collaboration with Save the Children. There was one was about Nigeria, to learn more about the nutrition habits of teenagers in Nigeria, and in parallel, they also wanted to learn more about the condition of street children in Afghanistan. The reason why I came across this opportunity was also because of my experience in the region of Afghanistan, and the cost of surveying a population in the region is very, very high because of the security matters. So we use the chatbots to engage with people that had smartphones, and they were commuting in specific regions in the country, and we gave them tasks of reporting on the conditions of street children. While in Nigeria was a more direct conversation with actually teenagers who had their own smartphones. So let's go to the next. Let's go next. Let's go more. One more. Yeah, okay, more. Okay. So HR chatbot. So this is another example of HR chatbot. We used this chatbot to educate and train employees of Dior so that the employees can actually interact with the chatbot. If the employee had already taken a training course, they will be asked questions about their current role in the company and how, for example, those best practices are being adopted in the space where they work, or if they have not taken these educational, let's say, opportunity for improving their skills or communication with customers or intercommunication with other employees. The chatbot itself can provide, actually was able to provide those type of trainings. So the one chatbot is both educational and also a form of survey. So next one. So this is one of my favorite products, not just because there is my feature there, and the reason why it's my feature because it's my programmers, they thought it was a good idea to present it this way, which I didn't totally agree with, but it's okay. So a lot of companies, there is a problem in terms of their infrastructure. People are located in different locations. They have different levels of seniority. To a certain extent, they might be also suffering a little bit of certain levels of discrimination based on their age, gender, or seniority within the company. That doesn't necessarily mean that people don't have great ideas or need to access great ideas. This was developed for a large pharmaceutical company in the United States with offices and specific marketing teams all over the world. And the opportunity here is that you can actually get into the system anonymously, present and upload your own ideas, your own white papers, proposals, access to other third parties' proposals and white papers, and then create cross collaborations within the company. This allows, to a certain extent, to build a collaboration, but it's also put a little bit of pressure on the management of managing new ideas. So that's why we call it the knowledge transfer. Is a chatbot that basically acts as a middleware between employees on a global level. So this can also apply very well with the managing relationships with students, between students. So we can go to the next slides.
Hey, Francesco, it's John. I think we probably need to move to some Q&A. We've got some questions coming in and just a couple more minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Yes, because I can talk about
good. So we do have a question coming in about change management and some recommendations that you might be able to provide around best practices for getting stakeholders on board with an implementation of AI on college campuses.
All right. So yes, I can actually provide everybody a document about this, this process. It's a fairly sophisticated process about the assigning within the organization the roles to embrace this type of digital transformation. My advice is to look at the company as a platform where every department has is almost like a neuron within the brain and is connected to all the other departments. Let's say that each stakeholder will actually have the opportunity to learn utilizing this technology and at the same time exchange information with the other departments. But the attitude has to be extremely collaborative and be willing to expose the knowledge base for each department, because obviously, embracing this transformation, it means that artificial intelligence is going to take a lot of, I don't say control, but it's going to be very meaningful in that space. So I will distribute a document after this webinar about how do we advise our clients for this change management process. Okay.
Oh, very good. Good. That would be helpful. All right. Thank you for that. And one more question before we move to wrap up here. There is some other questions are related to cost and savings, and whether AI is the solution for cost savings, for time savings, or for both. Can you comment?
Okay, so when it comes to AI, I sometimes I like to take a controversial position. I don't like the idea that someone goes into the AI space thinking this is going to be cheap and is going to make me make more money. I think it's going to be a substantial investment. It's an investment because the budget has to be a new budget. Most organizations, as we have seen, they didn't have a budget for artificial intelligence solutions. The budget is going to allow a company to have a robust solution, but the solution will also expose the problems with the knowledge base and also with the skill set of the employees themselves. So it can also be that within the first 6 months after the launch of the artificial intelligence solutions, the organization suffers some pressure to upgrade their knowledge base and upskill the employees. So this is usually the investment. It's not so much just the technology, it's also changing the philosophy. After that learning curve, then the benefits are exponential. As I said before, on a personal level, I save between 35 and 46 hours a month, which is staggering, but it has taken me a year to improve my personal chatbot. When it comes to a company, there are opportunities within, let's say, 6 months to be up and running with a really robust solution. And but very important is that the organization is on board about reskilling the employees, and above all, and along with that, let's say, improving the knowledge base so that the artificial intelligence can do its job and provide value to both ends of the parties.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for a great conversation on artificial intelligence today, Francesco. Really appreciate your being with us. I do want to remind our participants that we do have several grants still open from the Campus Consortium between now and the end of the year. So I encourage everyone to visit campusconsortium.org to check out the number of grants that are still open and are listed here on your screen. I also want to quickly announce our next upcoming webinar. It will be focused on Student Services Contact Center grant, and that will be presented by Anthony Humphreys of the Black Belt Help Organization. That is Thursday, December 5th at 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We welcome you to join that session and learn more on that grant briefing webinar. Also want to just note to everyone who registered and joined us today that we will be following up not only with some of the additional resources Francesco mentioned that he has available to share with you, but we'll also be sharing a recording of today's session as well as the slide deck for you all to have to share with your colleagues and or to follow back up with anyone from the consortium or with Francesco about questions you have about artificial intelligence and the impact and potential it has for driving a digital solution and increasing engagement on our college campuses. I want to thank everyone for being with us today, and once again, thank Francesco Rulli for a fantastic presentation. This is John Wanamaker from the Campus Consortium, and we'll be signing off today. Thanks very much, Francesco.
Thank you.
Take care.